Hi. So in August, I hit 100K net worth. Let's talk about it. How'd I get there? What does that consist of? Hello and welcome to First Gen Money, a YouTube channel for all things money and lifestyle from a first gen millennial's perspective. If you are not subscribed to the channel, please hit that subscribe button. If you want to learn how to improve your money situation, if you want to see how to talk about money with your friends, with your partner, or if you are your parents' retirement, I have all these videos for you to watch. Okay, so we're gonna get into it, but before we do, I want you to notice that we are home. We are back in the First Gen Money office, and we've been here for over a month. No, we've been here for over a week. Where we went, you're asking? Well, if you don't know, we were in Mexico for 3.5 weeks, and we tried to live our digital nomad life. I share more about our Mexico time in these videos, so be sure to check them out because I will forever love my time in Oaxaca. Getting into today's video, my first 100K. How did I get here? What did I do to reach 100K? And what does this 100K actually consist of? Let's jump right in. I've mentioned this in previous videos where I've talked about my income over the years, my net worth over the years, which I'm gonna link up here for you to see. But when I graduated Rutgers University in 2015, I was in the negative 30,000 or so net worth. And so 6 years, I have grown this net worth, not just to zero, but to positive 100K. How does that happen? They made a comment about how it was unusual that in 2017 I had 50K and now I'm close to 100K. How did this happen, right? Like, how did I go from negative 30K to 100K in 6 years? As you know, when I graduated, I had no job. I was interning for $15 a day and just picked up a part-time job waitressing at a seafood restaurant. I'm a vegetarian, by the way, but I ate fish back in the day. When I finally got my first job in March of 2016, I just spent my money. And it wasn't until 2017 that I started to get more serious with my money, that I started listening to podcasts and really wanting to improve my financial situation. And that was kind of when the ball hit me. But one thing I didn't do from 2015 to 2017 was get into credit card debt, which I know a lot of my peers sometimes get into, but I was very scared of credit cards. I do not want credit cards until I can actually pay with a full-time job. And so I didn't get credit cards and I didn't start accumulating credit card debt. And so that's number one thing that I did. But when we get into the specifics of what actions did I actually take towards reaching this money milestone, I can point back to 4 very specific things that I did. Number 1, house hacking. I've talked about house hacking in the past. I shared more about this in a Pillars of Financial Independence video that I made. How do you get zero to low housing cost? Housing is one of the top 3 expenses for people all over the country. Housing is probably gonna be their number 1 biggest expense. If I can get that to 0 or a low figure, great. And I was in the very privileged situation to have parents who welcomed me back home and was like, "Tú no te vas de la casa hasta que te cases." You leave the house in your wedding dress. You don't move out of your parents' house until you're getting married. And so my parents were like, "Yeah, of course you're coming back home. Where else would you go?" And I was also in the privileged situation to have parents who own a house in the suburbs of New York City, which provides job opportunities that New York City provides without me having to go rent in New York City. Third privilege, I have a relationship with my parents. Not everybody, can say the same. Those are the privileges that I had to be able to house hack. And of course, house hacking and going from living on your own in college to living with your parents is a big shift. And it wasn't something that I was happy to do when I was seeing my peers having their apartments in New York City, when I was seeing my peers living this life that I always thought I would live, right? I wanted to be Carrie Bradshaw. I wanted to have my apartment. I wanted to be Sex in the City, blah, blah, blah. I needed to put my money situation first and say, okay, I can't do that right now, so I'm gonna live at home until I can move out and have some kind of financial stability. I started my first job, I started my second job, and people were like, that's great that you're living at home, you're saving so much money in rent, you're doing it well, like stay at home as long as possible. But of course, I didn't stay at home the whole time. I moved to Brooklyn with my partner and we got our own apartment in 2019. We're in this apartment, we're paying rent, no longer a house hacking, but because I do have a roommate and I have a partner, we split the rent. So my rent was never more than $1,100. Once the pandemic hit, we moved to Ari's mom's basement. So I'm no longer in my childhood basement, but now I'm in Ari's childhood basement. This is where we live now. Obviously, it won't be forever, but house hacking is the number one thing that I did to be able to increase my savings rate. And like I mentioned before, not everybody is gonna be able to move in with their parents. Are there other ways that you can house hack? Like, can you get roommates? Can you choose to live in a different part of your city? Or can you buy a house that has extra rooms that you can rent out? What is that house hacking situation for you? There are many options out there for house hacking. Second thing, keeping my transportation costs low. I bought a car in 2015 or maybe 2014. I bought it my senior year of college. I was so excited to have this car, but when I graduated, the car started having issues after it got stolen, and so it never went back to being the car that it was. And I sold it in October of 2015. So I sold it and I was like, I'm not gonna get a new car because I'm in the city 5 days a week. Like, I don't need a car for these 2 days out of the week when I can just borrow my sister's, borrow my parents'. Like, I don't need my own car. That's how I kept my transportation costs low. No car payment, no gas, car insurance, and car situation. I didn't have to deal with that. I either walked, I signed up for a city bike, which I took from Port Authority to 14th Street where I was working, and I rode that because I didn't want to pay for a monthly Metro card. I'm gonna just use that 1 month monthly Metro card and pay for a year of this city bike. And I loved it. Yes, I'd get to work a little bit sweaty, but it was always so fun. Like, I was like, I just did that. A lot of fun things happened while I was riding my bike. Like, I saw Broad City being filmed. Like, I saw Alana and Abby like in front of me, and I stopped and I was like, oh my God, they're filming my favorite show. They were filming the She Work episode. It was like on 14th Street. Small little experiences like that wouldn't have happened if I just like went on the subway and just like wrote it down and just whatever. When you're young, you're willing to trade your time for money. I was doing that, right? Like, I was walking blocks and blocks and blocks because I didn't want to pay $2.75. Would I do that now? Probably not. To get from Columbus Circle to Penn Station, I think it was more than 40 minutes actually. In the rain, like, probably wouldn't do that again. I would just take the subway. But the important thing to note, does it really make a difference? Probably not. But when you are opting not to have a monthly Metro card, that adds up, right? Because that's like $141 at the time, like, per month. So what are you doing with the $141? Give it a purpose, give it a goal. That is gonna add up to X amount in the year. And so I want to be able to contribute to my Roth IRA because I'm not spending money here. So give that small amount a purpose. Third thing, and I think this one is quite obvious, because in order to see growth like I have seen that has shocked a lot of people. I mean, I had another question come in like, okay, from 2019 or 2018 to 2019, your net worth grew like exponentially. What happened here? Investing. When I first discovered personal finance and the personal finance world, I was like, okay, I need to open a Roth IRA. I need to get started investing. I worked at an organization that did not have a 401k at the time, and I knew I needed to start investing. So what options did I have myself to be able to open an account so I can start investing? And I could have done just a regular brokerage account, but I knew a tax advantage account was probably my best option. So I opened a Roth IRA. Today, the max that you can contribute is $6,000 a year. That $6,000 for 2 years is not gonna add up to 100K. Yeah, I was investing. I was getting into the habit of putting my money into the stock market, and I'm not really fully understanding what that meant, but knowing that investing is how you build wealth, and just like learning as my money was growing for me in 2019. So this is where we see that growth. When my company was like, we are now gonna have a 401k for you to invest in. I was like, Finally. I threw as much as I could into that 401k because I had never ever had access to a 401k before. So I was like, yes, I can now invest up to $19,500. And I was like over the moon. This account was now provided to me, and now I have more tax advantage accounts to throw my money in. It's the only way we're gonna build the wealth. At that time, like a lot of my colleagues were like, wow, they gave us a 401k, but there's no match. Like, I'm not gonna start investing in this. Like, why should I? And why you should is because it's your future, right? It's your future you're investing in. And so, yeah, if you don't get a match, like, okay, fine. It sucks. Maybe go look for a job that gives you a match, but you also now have access to this account that you didn't have before, which means you have more accounts to invest your money in. Do it and forget about the match because keep advocating for it, right? And if you keep advocating for it, maybe your company will come around and give you a match. But I was also dabbling, and I still dabble into individual stocks, just buying stock in companies that I believe in, but I don't plan on selling those anytime soon. Number 4, increase your income. They wanted to give me at the start of my career 45, but hey, a pause when you are getting offered a position makes the recruiter on the other end think, maybe this girl doesn't need this job after all. And I paused. Thank you so much for this offer. I will have to think about it. That's all I said, because I didn't know if I wanted to take that first job right away. Then when I got the offer letter, the number went from 45 to 50, and the recruiter was like, yeah, I advocated for you to get 5K more. And I was like, I'll take it. Now I know, obviously, everything is negotiable. I started my career making 50K. 6 years later, I'm making 95K. Now, is that 6-figure income? No. But for me, knowing how many times I advocated for myself to get a raise, I am super proud of that. If you're only getting 3% increases every year with your company, look elsewhere. I've mentioned before, right now we're going through the Great Resignation. Who has the upper hand? You. The employee does. Ask for a raise at your current organization if you like the place, if you think that, it's something that they can give you, or look elsewhere. And if your industry isn't known to pay well, then go to other industries that do. The tech industry, for instance, pays well. Look for those roles that will give you a higher income, and that income just grows. Then you have a bigger chunk to throw into investments, to throw into the savings goals that you have. Increasing your income is gonna go a longer way than trying to cut out a $2.75 subway ride. It's the biggest one towards me being able to hit 100K. One, got access to a 401k, got a huge raise that year because I advocated for myself. I will share more about that. I actually have a freebie for you to get the actual email that I sent to kind of advocate for myself. So if you want that, the link is in the description. Even though that was the year that I moved to Brooklyn and now have rent, it didn't really impact my ability to be able to save and invest. Increasing your income and not increasing your lifestyle with it would go a long way. So had I not moved to Brooklyn in 2019, we would be looking at maybe 200K, but it was a personal decision and I was ready to make that move. So don't always increase your lifestyle with every raise that you get. Family, friends, everybody, my parents for letting me live in their house, Janet, Ari's mom, for letting us stay in the basement, my friends for not judging me for biking to work. It took some kind of village to get to 100K, but we did it. Now, what does this 100K consist of? It's not all in a high yield savings account. No. Actually, only about 21% is in cash. The cash is split into my sinking funds, is split into my emergency fund, and my checking account that I use for day-to-day, and checking account that I use for bills. All of the funds that are easy to access. The rest of it, investments, because what did I say? Your money grows when it's invested. It doesn't grow in a savings account. Start investing today. The majority of my investment is in my retirement accounts. And a majority of the investments in the retirement account are in that 401k. Because remember what I said, the max that you can contribute to a Roth is $6,000. The max you can contribute to a 401k is $19,500. That one holds the majority of the investments in that retirement category. Small percentage of individual stocks, Disney, Peloton, because you know I love my Peloton. I have Bumble, United, JetBlue, just a bunch of little stocks here and there at different companies. This is no more than like 1% of all of my investments. But there you have it, how I reached my first 100K. And just so you know, everybody's journey to their first 100K is gonna be different, right? Like, not everybody's going to choose to live at home with their parents. Not everybody's gonna choose to not have a car. The main thing to take from this is how can you incorporate the pieces that worked for the people into your life, right? Like, is there a way to house hack for you? Is there a way to lower your transportation costs or increase your income? Can you ask for a raise? Can you start investing if you haven't yet? So think about what you can do. I hope you took something from this video. Honestly, I love hearing from you. So if this helped, let me know, leave a comment. And if you really enjoyed it, hit that like button and subscribe, because it really helps I think it helps YouTube just like know that people enjoyed this and shares it to more people. So I hope to see you next week, and thank you for watching.